se le dice en inglés, con el derecho de discriminarnos aquí y allá. No, imagínense, hubo aquí sí una fragmentación de la sociedad, una polarización. Aquí sí estuvieron en 50-50 los que no están de acuerdo con el racismo, los que no están de acuerdo con Trump y los que sí. Hubo también una serie de expresiones antisemitas, xenófobas. También, hablando del medio ambiente, pues este señor le dio en la madre a todos los acuerdos que se habían conseguido para frenar el cambio climático, ¿no? Puso en riesgo muchas veces la seguridad en enfrentamientos claros con otros gobiernos. Y digo, no hubo injerencismo, pero sí hubo ahí enfrentamientos. Y vean lo que pasó con México. A México lo amenazó una y otra vez hasta que llegó el presidente López Obrador y con un verdadero fuerte e interesante esfuerzo diplomático consiguió dominar a la bestia. México, el presidente López Obrador, su equipo diplomático, consiguieron dominar esa bestia que tiene usted en pantalla. Pero si hubiéramos tenido a un Peña Nieto por más tiempo, a un Calderón, a un Fox, a un Cedillo, ya le cuento cómo nos hubiera ido, honestamente. Yo sé que el hubiera es el verbo presente de un pasado que ya no es. Pero yo le pido que usted, que nos ve, que nos escucha, no se vaya con la finta de que Trump es bueno, que no fue injerencista y eso. No porque lo haya planteado así nuestro amigo Luis Orlando, no. Lo digo porque que nos ve en este espacio y que nos ha mandado varias notas a la voz del pueblo. Lo digo porque en nuestros chats mucha gente me dice, no, es que Trump sí fue bueno, no, es que si Trump sí nos conviene aquí en Estados Unidos. No nos conviene, no nos quieren los mexicanos. No nos quiere a los mexicanos. Si por él fuera hubiera invadido México. Nos llamó narcotraficantes, nos llamó violadores, dijo que alguno que otro de nosotros, pues a lo mejor era bueno, pero que la mayoría de los mexicanos éramos eso. Cuando, fíjese, siento que, y así lo he visto yo, ¿no? Que en Estados Unidos, por muy racista que sea la gente, reconocen que los mexicanos le echamos muchos trancazos a la vida, que somos los más trabajadores acá, en Estados Unidos. De verdad, ¿eh? Pues nos pueden decir lo que quieran, pero somos los más trabajadores acá en Estados Unidos. Los que pusimos el pan en la mesa de los estadounidenses durante la pandemia. Que no se les olvide. Y ahora que Trump enfrenta estas consecuencias, pues hay que pensar en la gran maestra de la vida, como le llamaba Cicerón. Hay que pensar en la historia. Aquel que no conoce la historia está condenado a repetirla. Otro ultrarracista, ultraconservador, otro fascista, de nombre Adolf Hitler, también fue detenido. A él también le fincaron acusaciones formales. A él también lo sentaron en el banquillo de los acusados. A él lo metieron en la cárcel un tiempecillo y esto lo único que hizo fue generarle más popularidad y empatía del pueblo alemán. Y al fin y al cabo vean lo que terminó Hitler. Esperemos que Trump no saque la carta a Hitler, que entonces sí ya nos llevó la chingada. Y bueno, le decía que vamos ahora, de hecho, a que don David nos cuente nuestras redes sociales, porque me parece que ya va a empezar la conferencia de prensa mañanera, ¿no es así, don David? No lo escuchamos, amigo, como que se le fue por ahí el audio.
Aquí andamos. No te asustes, mi estimado Toño. Aquí andamos con mucho gusto para toda la gente. Pues agradeciéndole, ya son más de 11,300 personas conectadas. Recuerden, estamos en Sin Censura TV a través de Facebook, estamos en Sin Censura TV a través de YouTube, Sin Censura Media y Sin Censura Presenta. No se les olvide suscribirse, darle el dedito arriba. Recuerde que no va a pagar nada por hacerlo y nos va a apoyar bastante para que así más gente, pues la familia de Sin Censura cada vez crezca más, porque
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Name's Angel Ramirez. We're going to be translating this for everybody that wants to listen. Para todos aquellos que quieren escuchar esto en inglés. For everyone that wants to listen to this in English. We're going to be translating for you for the next 2 or 3 hours. Please remember to put that like on. That really helps us out a lot. And it's really, really helpful for this channel. Please don't forget to also like us in our other channels, AZTECRON Entertainment, where we show everything that is related with Hollywood. And for example, we translated the Gwyneth Paltrow and Terry Sanderson trial, and that's why we weren't here for the last few weeks, but we are here now. Estamos aquí ya. Estuvimos traduciendo el juicio de Gwyneth Paltrow, pero ya regresamos aquí con ustedes. Thank you all for being here. So, we're going to be starting in a few minutes. Vamos a empezar en unos minutos. Parece que todavía está en espera, but we're going to be here. Buenos días, Jen, Inés, y a todas y a todos los que están con nosotros. Gracias por estar conmigo. Siempre un honor tenerlas y tenerlos. Vamos a iniciar en unos minutos. Si pueden poner el nombre de AZTECRON México for You en cualquier lugar donde estén transmitiendo la mañanera o cualquier noticiario, así como lo estoy haciendo yo ahorita. Tengo varios canales donde pasamos la información de que estamos aquí con ellos, ayudándoles también. There it is. Looks like we're starting. Once again, thank you for being here. Let's begin. Okay, well, thank you so much. We're back transmitting la mañanera de López Obrador. And we're going to be doing so as many days as we can. Special invites are always welcome. And, of course, we're always going to mention you. Jennifer MMD and Inés Fernandez. Sorry about that. Thank you very much for being here. Then we got Eric Suarez, Michael Lopez, Arturo Solis, Jocelyn Velasquez, Lorena Salazar, Gilbert ESP, Daniel Andrade, y Carlos Cordova. Thank you all for being here with us. You're all always our special invites in this channel. So please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can get all the information, the latest information. We're also looking into the Donald Trump situation that we're going to be covering for you guys. It's really interesting to understand why he is going through this. You know that he is back to trying to get the presidency in 2024, so I'm pretty sure that that's the reason why he is going through all of this. Of course, his opposing people, the members that don't want him back in the presidency, are of course pushing on that way. But of course, oh, and there it is. This is a trial that I was speaking to you about. We were working on this. We're working on this last few weeks. That's why you didn't see us here, but we're back, and we're going to be tending to all the needs of the channel starting today once again. So thank you for the wait. There it is. Buenos dias. Good morning. It was a little late, but we're not going to present anything. We're just going to dedicate entire time for questions and answers. The 6 that were there on, but we need 6 women then. So there's 3, he says. 3 of you, he says, and you 2. Hopefully we'll get enough time, he says. Let's go. Mr. President, good morning. Eric Vilchis from Basta, en conjunto with Tabasco Hoy, Quintana Hoy from Grupo Cantar. My question today is the next one. So I want to know how the arrival of Guadalupe Zavala that was elected president councilor, after that it was known that she is in power. After that, you commented in past days that the methodology of the rounding table was one of the methods that was most transparent, and to know about the message with Lorenzo Cordova, where he comments that the mission was completed. If you can comment on that, what mission was he talking about? How was INE left, and the arrival of the new councilors to that department? Well, I celebrate that it has been undertaken, this election of the new chancellors, or councilors, sorry, and so that it's been done by a free a raffle, and so I think that's good. And as I said it before, and there was something to take care of. We needed to take care of the fact that the same process was not given, the same error was committed, the bad habit to spread the positions. This is one of the ways of a more democratical way to handle things and choose. In the old Greece, this method was used as well, as part of democracy, of course, and the ones that are left or leaving, the ones that are leaving, people are going to judge them, as everybody needs to be judged. My opinion, of course, you all know about it. It doesn't make sense to keep talking about the same thing, and I feel that there was lies. There was a lot of lies with the reforms that were trying to be imposed. They were giving false information that the democracy was trying to be affected, that INE wasn't touchable, I was going to disappear, when all we were trying to do and what we're looking for, and still needs to be planted, is that there's not much overspending of the people's budget in the organizations of the elections. That there's not a lot of public workers, no plurinominal public servants, that only the Congress is filled with elected people. And you're going to see, I'm not going to be wrong. And you're going to see it. All of our opposing members that inspire to be candidates, what they're really looking for is a plurinominal situation. Of the 50 or more that are aspiring to be presidential candidates, whether it's Santiago Krill or Ms. Lily Tellez, for example, or that one from Coparmex, what's his name? Gustavo de Hoyo, for example. Or Sodi, that also is coming in. Or that one governor from Michoacán, Silvano Orioles. Well, all those, all of them, we're going to have to put up a list. What they're really looking for is being senators or public working people, or because of when the time that they were in power, they reformed the Constitution to allow the re-elections. And so the ones, Álvarez y Casa, Madero, they're all going to be looking for re-elections, or passing from plurinominal senators to public servants, public officials. That's why they didn't want that reform, constitutional reform, when it comes to electoral office. And the other ones, the rich ones,
tanto para los partidos como para la élite dorada del INE, del Tribunal Electoral,
from the INE, that, as we have seen before, they earn high-level salaries, even more than the president, now that the councilors are leaving, that each of them are taking about 10 million pesos, each of them. That aside from the benefits that they all have a right because of their time, antiquity, 3 months of pay per year plus 20 days per each year of antiquity here in their placement. They'll have a right, but of course they're going to receive more because it's a major a bigger salary, of course.
Pero de todas maneras,
But of
eso se
anyway,
queda corto
that of course
y
is
se
little
compara con el
when you
seguro
compare it with the insurance.
que tienen de separación. Seguro de separación.
Thank you, madame. Gracias,
Retiro.
madame. Quita. Gracias, corazón.
No, se llama
Ahí están las redes sociales acá abajo, madame.
seguro individual.
It's called individual
De separación individual.
insurance, of individual insurance. That's even prohibited
Por la ley de austeridad.
because of the austerity law.
Pero ellos se ampararon,
But they got a
el mismo Poder Judicial,
pardon.
porque también los del Poder Judicial están igual. Los del Poder Judicial tienen,
So the judicial power,
tienen un guardadito
they got this protection, legal protection,
sin
and they got this money aside that they're not even informed of more of 20 million,
de fideicomiso.
20,000 million pesos.
Sí. Y es para eso. Porque siguen ganando los
And that's what they're for like this trust fund. Magistrates or ministers earn. That's why they earn more than the president. And they have these benefits of all kinds.
Ayudantes. Bueno, tenían hasta para alimentación, para
they even have this feeding benefits, expenditure, security, laundry, and so that's why we're going to do this change. And we're going to keep insisting in that these privileges stop. So one more thing that I want to talk about is that when, just one thing, because I'm contradicting myself here. I said that I'm not going to speak about that, but there's a real important thing here. When elections, prior elections, were providing registry for the one that was leaving the presidency, and for example, the one from Nuevo León, the governor, was candidate for presidency in Nuevo León. Well, the president knew that they didn't have enough required options, but he was in line with the president of the Mexican Republic, knowing that they didn't have enough requirements together. And so, why are they speaking about democracy? So they're Democrats, just to mention some of them, because that hasn't been spoken about before. So how is it that they got the registry? I think you got enough signatures before, or 10 days, month before, and then they took off. As before, they would register the one that is public servant, Quadri, I think, that defeated Pablo Gomez and said that the ones from Coyoacán, hopefully that they can analyze what they did.
Porque es de sabio cambiar de opinión. Imagínense Coyoacán, donde vive mucha gente.
So just imagine Coyoacán, where there's a lot of progressionists. To begin, there's a lot of migrants
de Oaxaca, de Hidalgo,
from Oaxaca, Hidalgo,
de Guerrero,
from Guerrero, Pedregal de Santo Domingo, Copilco, all that area.
Y también intelectuales, académicos de gran nivel.
And also intellectuals, academic people. So they vote for this guy Cuadre, amongst other things, because it's not just one opinion. They have proposed the... Gracias, madame. Gracias. And that's why we're going to get the backing from Oaxaca. It would have been better if we didn't get the backing from those states. And they're the center of those states, the Mecca of our cultures. Muchas gracias, madame. I thank you very, very much. Gracias, corazón. Oaxacan people is the one with the most culture in the world. But then, that guy Sodi was a candidate always to the presidency. He was like twice a candidate. Teacher Evaster was there. Like that other lady, what's her name? That she was promoted to take votes away from us. Miss Mercado, I think her name was. With the feminism flag, and they gave him all the possibilities. And of course, with the passing of time, she's where she's at. With the conservative blockade. And so just that part where how that it's done in the times of El INE, that is untouchable. Can't hear the question. Yes, hopefully. And that there would be a reform in the judicial power and the autonomous organisms. They're not violating the Constitution. Why don't you put it on? Gracias, madame. Ya vi los anuncios ahí en ese gran canal sin censura. Salúdame a todos. Salúdame a... I'm sorry. Perdón, voy a detenerlo tantito. Madame, salúdame mucho a Vicente y a Toño. Y también a don David. Salúdamelos mucho. What interpretation could be valid from a judge, a magistrate, or minister? Something that, in front of everything, it's violatory of the Constitution. And that's a situation of principles. Politics is an imperative, an ethical imperative. How is it that in a very cheating, illegal way, am I gonna justify earn more than what is established in the Constitution? It's the 127th, just that section. No public servants could be rewarded remuneration with their work, employment, or commission major to the established for the President of the Republic in the correspondent budget. And they earn more than I do. And so what is this? What is this, like dead writing or what?
¿No están obligados los
Aren't
servidores
they
públicos
obligated
a cumplir la
to
Constitución?
comply with the Constitution?
Ese es el fondo, pues, del asunto.
That's the depth of the situation. And of course,
Tienen que llevarse a cabo los cambios.
and they have to
Vamos a
earn the
seguir.
changes, and we're going to
No
be
puede haber
insisting there can't be
gobierno rico con pueblo
a
pobre.
rich government with poor people.
Pues ya lo que dice el Reforma, tu periódico. O sea, pues que no les gusta.
That they didn't want,
Nada.
they don't want that.
Se proponga de parte nuestra, le gusta a los conservadores.
They don't like
Reforma es un
these
boletín
conservatives to do, and Reforma is just a way for them to.
del conservadurismo. A mí sí me parece muy bien. Es que lo que no les gusta a ustedes, a mí sí me gusta.
Is what it's about what they don't like, I do like,
Es
kind of
una
thing, you
mujer
know?
experimentada.
It's because an experimented woman.
Vean
Just look at the
trayectoria.
trajectory that she has.
No puedes poner ahí
You can't really put
quién es la señora.
who the lady there, Tadeida,
No la conozco.
Juve Tadeida.
Conozco a su familia, eso
I don't really know her, but
y sí, son gentes progresistas y demócratas
really
y gente
progressive
honesta.
people
Nada
and
que ver con el
honest.
conservadurismo que
Nothing to
defiende
do
la
with
Reforma.
conservative that the reform protects.
Los conservadores que defienden
Because
ustedes
the conservatives that you guys protect,
son muy hipócritas.
they're really
muy
hypocritical and corrupt.
No, porque tiene profesionalismo, es honesta,
She's professional, honest,
de
incapable of acting as
el presidente que
the president that is coming out.
es una mujer íntegra, pero
She's an
además
integral lady.
fue examinada
But aside from that, she was examined
por una comisión
by a
del
commission
Congreso.
of the Congress.
Y por si fuese poco,
And
es
if it wasn't
producto de
that,
un sorteo.
if that wasn't enough, it was product of a kind of a draw,
Entonces, es
kind of a raffle. So it's
transparente
more of the transparent
que puede haber.
type situation that could be.
Nunca
That, of
va a ser
course,
aceptado por ustedes.
will never be accepted by you guys.
Pero pues ya en el plan que están
But with the
de que no les gusta
action
nada,
movement that you guys are in and that you guys don't like
para no
anything,
fallar en mi
so
estrategia,
that my strategy I won't fail, I kind of
qué
notice
cosa es lo que ustedes opinan y ya
what's a thing that you guys think about, and I know
si actúo
that if I do
en
something
sentido opuesto,
in the
ya
opposite,
atiendo,
then I'm right.
porque ustedes son
Because
si
you guys,
ensarta el presidente,
if the president does it, he loses. If he doesn't do it, he loses anyway.
entonces
See what I
es muy
mean?
obvio.
So it's really obvious,
Y además está muy bien,
you guys, and it's good
porque antes
because before
hacían lo mismo,
you guys would do the same thing,
pero
but
simulaban de que eran
they would
independientes
simulate
de la
that they were
sociedad civil,
independent to the
que no tenían partido,
civil society, that you guys didn't have a party,
que eran muy profesionales. Bueno, en realidad
when
no
really
son más que conservadores
they're not more than
rancios
just fake conservatives.
al servicio
Guillermina Lara,
de
gracias corazón,
una oligarquía.
of under the commission of an oligarchy, corrupt oligarchy. That's how Reforma came out.
Surgió
Reforma came out with the backing of Carlos Salinas de Gortari.
no,
El INE doesn't end up being taken over by Morena. Don't worry about that.
el INE no se toca.
INE is untouchable.
¿Cuánto?
How much?
Nació en el 63, o sea,
He was born in 63, so I'm
ya
53.
tiene ya casi 60,
She's almost 60.
¿no? Va a
Isn't
cumplir
that right?
60.
She's going to be
Nació en
60.
Cananea,
She was born in
es un
Cananea.
histórico.
Guillermina, invitada especial, gracias corazón, madame.
Al no ser que se trate de hablar bien del coronel Green.
So this is about Colonel Green, el patrón, in those times of Cananea movements, but not in favor of the working people. When has the Reforma newspaper has spoken about in favor of the Cananea, of the martyrs? When have they been in favor? Never. But maybe I could be wrong. And you're going to be bringing in proof of strikes and reports of the Cananea strikes in favor of the workers, right? Could be. He was told off, this guy. Le dijeron sus cosas. The most mentioned one, I don't want to talk about this, but now that you're asking, the counselor spoke her. She was the president of the Institute of Sonora of Transparency, access to the public information and protection of private information. And according to the page in Sonora of the transparency page, David Zavala is in 28 years of career in electoral information and work. This was when he was named Lorenzo Córdoba, I think. He was 28 years of experience in when he was named. He was commentary of the Aristegui program, TV show. Well, anyway, so there's the information, but you guys aren't going to like that. People from Reforma. So, well, we wish them well, and that they get better. The most important thing of all is that there's more conscientious, citizen conscientious people. There aren't any imaginary citizens. They're real citizens. And the motor of change, of course, is the people. It's not functionary people, public servants. Democracy, of course, was converted into a reality and a habit because of the pushing of the citizens. It's like the liberties. They're not implored, they're conquered. And so the people of Mexico has been advancing against all these fake people, the ones that leave. They're speaking about democracy, but in reality, they're an oligarchy. Yesterday, day before yesterday, I think of a Forum of Democracy, I was speaking about that. That where they are speaking about democracy when in reality they dominate in very many countries in the world the minorities, and they call themselves Democrats. They utilize as a overall fakeness democracy when in reality they dominate. The oligarchy dominates. Aristotle would say there was three systems of good governments and three bad ones, and the among the good ones, the lesser bad one, democracy and oligarchy, he considered it bad as a way of government, because In essence, that's the government of the few, the government of the minorities, the government of the rich. And democracy is the government of the people. And so, all the conservatives, of course, in the case of Mexico and the world, here the conservative bloc and their newspapers as Reforma would want that democracy, of course, if anything, it would work or limit it, would shorten, in a way, only with the participation of the so-called political class. They don't like that. The overall universal opinion. They don't care about the same thing about a peasant vote, of an intellectual vote, or of a good company owner. Or maybe a scientist. So it's a really interesting thing, because in our country, now this change has been given, and ese demos in Greek means people, and kratos, that in Greek means power. That's the democracy, power of the people. So this will help. But the most important thing of all this is that we have an advancement of the conscientious people, democracy conscience, and that is a way of life, and not only democracy is limited to the elections. That there's democracy, participation in democracy, not only representative, but that is being consulting and being provided to the people. That's why the revoking of the presidency, a democracy, a representative democracy, the president is chosen. But if the president is not up to the standards of conscience, betrays the people, the one that is in power, the people can change, take him out, because the people are the ones that state us in, that puts us on, and the people have the right to change the way of the governments, a sovereign people, Article 39 of the Constitution. And so, that we act in a democratical way, in the family, in the schools, syndicates, or unions, democracy as a way of life. That's the ideal. And that's where we need to go. We need to be advancing on that. So those political oligarchies dressed up as Democrats, they're looking to lie, simulating what Democrat can be. Look at this. I mean, if democracy is the power of the people, what Democrat can be a person that violates the Constitution and that earns 300,000 Mexican pesos a month, in a country where the average salary, of what a worker earns, 15,000 per month. How can that be? How can he be called a public servant to a person that earns 300,000 pesos a month. You can call that a functionary, public functionary. That is doing a job, but is not a servant of the nation.
Bien, presidente, mi segunda intervención, cambiando de tema, me gustaría saber qué es lo que va a suceder luego de que la oposición.
So what's going to happen after the opposition is against the morning conferences that they're soliciting that is reducted of the 27th of March, where you mentioned that there is a Plan C, where you commented that not one more vote to the conservatives. I would like to know what's going to happen if that day and that piece or part is going to be taken down, and what's going to happen with the opposition now that days before you commented that the morning conferences work to inform the people in numbers and data. Well, not one vote to the conservatives, and I'm not talking for a vote to the pre-end parties. It's a vote against conservatism. But if they oppose and they get mad, well, it's another thing. There isn't a formal party, not one vote to the conservatism. And so I'm not going to say not one vote to conservatism, not one to the fifis then, to the little rich people. So I can't say that anymore because they're not fifis. Some of them. Or I could say not one vote to the conservatives. That was funny. Not one vote to the right wing. Not one vote to the corruption people, to corrupt people. Are they going to get mad then? If I say corrupt people, they're going to punish me for it? And that's how it's going to be better. Corrupt. Not one vote to the corrupt. That's better, don't you think? And we're going to be attentive. I'm not going to say one vote to conservatives. I'm going to say one vote to corrupt. Is that better? Not one vote to the corrupt. That's better, because you could say to not one vote to the elites, to the classes, not vote to the racists. So it's better like that. Not one vote to the corrupt. Can't hear the question. You shouldn't speak about this, they said. So the president has to procure that there's honesty, right? Of course. How am I going to applaud and stay quiet up against corruption? Isn't it that it's the people that decide? With all the information that is disposed, and president has the right to fight until corruption is out of the country. That is the main problem in Mexico. So, I say no to the corrupt, not one vote to corrupt, and that there's proof, aren't there? There's evidence. Isn't the president has to inform about public politics? The main problem in Mexico was corruption. It's still there. There's still corruption, but we're fighting it because we want to get it out of the country. And corruption grew more than ever in the neoliberal period, when there was a domination of the opposition. Okay? So then, I don't want that to come back to us. So CEDARMEX yesterday was seeing the case of the Migration Institute. Yes, but the people know already. You've never seen it before, and you're not going to see it. You haven't seen it. You never saw how the country was sacked during Salinas times, right? And there was they gave you a voice. Sol de Mexico. Oh, okay. No. You were part of corruption. Speaking truly. Sol de Mexico. Oh, please. There's a location there's a section here that Jesus is telling me about in your newspaper. It's called Peña Nieto. You don't know about that. All right, so if we're talking about El INE, and INE says that we can't say one vote to the corrupt, we'll see what we can do then. Meanwhile, I'm not going to say not one vote to conservatives. Putting myself in the INE's case. No vote to corruption, right? Isn't that better? Because that would be, it would be insane with not even a rose petal. Or that we keep doing what we were doing before, that we were stealing. We're all stealing. Everybody was stealing. And not even their hospitality, respectfulness, would get lost. And then we get mad because we call them corrupt. Because it's a public situation. This respectability, they didn't lose it after stealing all this. Nothing has ever damaged Mexico more than dishonesty of the government, people. That's the principal case. That's the situation of inequality, social inequality, economical inequality, violence, the corruption. So we need to take it out and stigmatize it, because the worst of the worst is that they would steal and that you wouldn't lose their respectability. They even were applaud. The respectability was there. They would even applaud them. In some cases, of course, you can't generalize. They would say to the kids, well, you got to study, because when you grow up, you'll be like such and such, a reverent thief. And that's why cynicism of that moral was a tree that would give cherries, and that the one that doesn't steal doesn't advance, or that the poor politician. And that's what was on power.
Completamente inaceptable, y además están como aturdidos, anonadados. Dice, ¿cómo?
And that they're really amazed.
No voy a ganar yo 200, 300 mil pesos. Imagínense Jorge Ramos, este periodista famoso que gana como 10 millones al mes.
Look at this guy Ramos that earns 10 million a month.
¿Cómo? No lo va a
How is it that he won't consider that as a normal situation that was dominating and predominating and still doing? I'll pay you good money, right? So that you can work for us.
Te pago bien para que seas vasallo.
I'll pay you so that you can be a slave.
¿Y cuál es la obligación del vasallo?
And what's the duty of that slave?
Obedecer
To obey,
y callar.
comply, and be quiet.
Entonces por eso valoré de Mola. 3 millones.
So that's why Loret de Mola, 3 million, departments everywhere, luxury departments, Mexico City in the US, right?
Y al final,
and at the end of the day, it's a delinquent association,
una red
a web
de
of
componendas y de complicidades.
components and complicits.
Decía Tolstoy, un gobierno que no procura la
Compromises. They used to say that a government that doesn't comply with justice is no more than just a gang
Así estábamos.
of thieves. That's how we were.
Bueno, vamos a seguir.
But let's keep going.
¿Ya terminaste?
You're done with it?
Adelante.
Can't hear.
¿Cómo? Sí, 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 hacemos caso.
And we're gonna be complying. Couldn't hear the question, sorry.
Esta no.
Not this one.
La anterior, sí. Esta
The one before, yes, but the one until we're told, hopefully, that they let us say now, not one vote to the corrupt. Mr. President, good morning, Felipe Prado of Comunicante Tijuana. We've seen, as you've said before, that in the situation with the well-being, this really important program that nowadays that is a fact, that is eradicating extreme poverty. I want to ask you that Baja California and Tijuana, that was seen, at least there's a economical resource coming into every home of the elderly when there's a single mother or a young student. These types of programs that the governments and local governments, such as Rosarito, Alcaldesa, the mayor of Brown and Caballero in TJ, Tijuana, that we can work with them so that those programs go directly to the people that need them. How can we convince the people in front of these malintended minds that confuse society? And today they're so confused that they're commenting that these programs are not arriving or they're not benefiting, when we know that the extreme poverty is being eradicated. How can we answer these bad people that want to opaque the good acts and the goodwill that you're doing? I think that the people are really conscientious now. I think reality has changed, and that's is what they're not accepting, and that's their fall on it. And the principal main error of our opposing members, I wouldn't even counsel them. They don't want to understand that there's a new reality. And you can't put new wine in old bottles. I won't give them any counsel on that. If they would pick up the feelings of the people, for example, if they weren't so elite-oriented, classists, they would understand a little more what is happening, and they would have more elements to confront us. But they belong to the so-called red circle, to the elite, and so there is a diminishing mind of way of thinking and price, and they deny themselves to accept actions in benefit to the people that this government is undertaking. And it's not even in their mental structure, conservative mental structure, because they're not even partisans to help out, to assist the people. They have held up for generations that the people are lazy, and that because of that, they're not moving forward. Or that poverty is because the people aren't working. They don't do enough. Or that poverty is because is a product of bad fortune. That's how they used to say before. There are those who have good fortune, and that's why they're always going to be rich and poor. Because there's going to be those fortunate, and there's going to be those that aren't that fortunate and not have that possibility. And that's that mentality, and they're partisans of that. There aren't any public education, and that the ones that study, well, they have to pay for their school. And the same thing that they don't like, that health, public health doesn't exist, and that the ones that get sick would pay. Lately, they've started saying during the neoliberal period, there was this proverb, supposedly, and the one that said, don't give a fish, don't hand out a fish, don't give people anything, teach them how to fish. Yeah, but there's no water. There's no fish. But all that, it's a conception. But when it comes to helping out the ones on top, whoa, that is not paternalism. That's not populism. That's fomenting. To convert the debt of some rich people, that becomes debt, public debt. Oh, that is right. That has to be done. But the state, the government can't comply with its social responsibility. It only needs to be used when it comes to rescue institutions, financial institutions in bankruptcy, big company owners, minorities. Because they shouldn't come in to promote development. We shouldn't come in and speak about help out the people. Now, I was speaking about coming back to the origins. Because when in the Constitution you have that is funded by the U.S. in the French Constitution, in the Constitution of Apatzingán, it is established that the objective, the reason of every government has to be to procure happiness of the people, looking always equality. But the government objective is that the people are happy. And so they were manipulating up until, why are you giving out a scholarship to a young person that doesn't work, doesn't study, doesn't go to school. Let's treat them that way, right? In a bad way, in a discriminatory way, they don't study, they don't go to school, and they don't work. So don't help them out. Ha ha ha. So does he get a grant, a scholarship? So we give him work so he can work as an apprentice? Oh, and what about you're giving money away. You're backing up these street kids. You're financing the lazy kids. That mentality is not easy to take away. That comes from way back. And that's why I'm told, whenever I'm told, that there's a lot of people that are against you, well, of course they are. There are millions of them. There are against me. And I calculate that with that thinking, there's got to be more than 25, 30 million Mexicans against us thinking that way. And we need to respect them, of course. And it's not the ones that are coming to El Zócalo, Mexico City, 100, 150,000. There's 25, 30 million of them. There's a lot. Of course, there's going to be less every time. And above all, because the youngsters of those families, of course, they're taking conscientious moves. And that there's transformation movements. And that the arguments, there weren't these debates before. These things were never talked about. Now it's really interesting, everything that we're living. We shouldn't complain because we got to live stellar moments in the history of Mexico. We're going through moments of transformation and respect each other. And whomever still wants to be conservative, let them continue. That we all think the same? That's not democracy. So then, telling you this, why am I not worried about it? The fact that they are spreading in the majority of media outlets that we're populist and we're patronalists. Because people are now feeling something else. It's really simple. Before, they wouldn't give to the people because they would steal it. They would steal the majority of the budget. It was for the elites, for the people that would live with so much privilege. Nowadays, we don't allow corruption. We're doing this austerity government, and the budget, we direct it to the people that most need it, or vulnerable. This just distribution of the budget, of the income. The ideal thing would be a just distribution of the richness. But of course, that implies a even more deep change, a deeper change, so that we can at least distribute with justice the budget. Because what would happen before? They would concentrate the richness in a few hands,
se quedaban con todos los bienes
They would keep all the goods
de la nación.
of the nation.
Y encima de eso,
And on top
se
of that,
robaban también el presupuesto.
they would steal the budget.
No, como dicen los abogados,
Or like the lawyers would say,
que se quedaran con los
accepting
bienes,
without agreeing
con la llamada privatización,
with that so-called privatization,
el convertir lo público en privado, que fue lo que hicieron.
the
Las
public
empresas, los
budget,
bancos, las minas, los ferrocarriles,
the companies, the mines,
lo que
railways,
trasladaron a
everything.
pero que cuando menos el presupuesto
And then at least the
se
budget,
lo entregaran a la gente.
they would give it to the people.
Pero no,
But no,
también se robaban el presupuesto.
they would steal the budget as well. They would take it.
Entonces,
And so,
no tienen llenadera.
they don't get full with all that.
¿Qué es lo que hemos hecho nosotros?
They never have enough. What have we been doing? In the case of the budget,
Decir, a ver,
we'll go over there and say,
vamos a entregarlo a quien más
well,
lo
let's
necesita.
give the budget to the most needy.
Vamos a procurar
Or let's procure
que no se afecte la economía
that the
popular,
economy, the popular
que no
economy,
aumente el
is
precio
not
de las
affected,
gasolinas, que no
that the
aumente el precio de
gases,
la luz, que no aumente el precio de los
prices
servicios de
don't
gas,
go up, that the light or
que
power
aumente el salario.
prices don't go up, that the salary does go up.
Eso es lo que hemos hecho.
That's what we've been doing.
Entonces, eso
And that, of
les
course,
incomoda
that is
mucho,
uncomfortable for them. They don't want that.
mucho.
A lot.
Y es una gran hipocresía
And it's a real big hypocrisy in their part
hasta actúan
because they even act
como cristianos,
like Christians. And a good Christian, of course, is the one that has to
pensando
be thinking
en el prójimo.
in his neighbor, his brethren.
Un buen cristiano no puede ser egoísta,
Good Christian can't
no
be
puede ser individualista.
selfish, can't be individualist.
¿Para qué voy al templo? ¿Para qué voy
Why am I going to go to
a
the
la iglesia?
temple? Why am I going to go to the church?
Y comulgo y confieso,
And I
le doy
confess
la espalda al que sufre.
if I give my back to the one that is suffering.
Sí, lo único que me importa
That if the only thing that I care about
es
is
saciar mis ambiciones
satisfy my own personal material ambitions
y no pensar en los demás.
and not think about the rest.
Entonces, es un asunto
That, of course,
importante,
is a really important
importante.
situation.
Yo siento que
I feel
les molesta mucho lo
that
que
if they
nosotros
are
estamos
bothered
haciendo,
because of what we're doing,
pero pues para eso luchamos. Es que ellos pensaban que luchábamos por
they
el
used to
cargo.
think that would fight for the position. That's what they would think we
Quítate
were
tú
doing.
porque quiero yo.
Because get away and because I want this position kind of thing.
Y que iba a
And
ser más de lo mismo.
that it's going to be more the same.
No,
Incorrect.
no. Se inició una transformación y la vamos a
There's a new transformation and we're going to continue it.
y
We started it.
afortunadamente vamos bien.
And fortunately, we're doing
La
good
gente está
because the people
respondiendo.
are responding.
Y en Baja California, bueno,
And in Baja California, of course,
es de los estados
is the one state
con más politización.
with more politicization.
Nada más recuerdo que en el 88
I just remember the 88, back in
uno
88,
de los estados donde ganó
one of the states where
Cárdenas,
engineer Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas won, not even with the fraud could bring him down, was Baja California.
y fíjense en el norte, porque también
And in the north, of course,
se piensa equivocadamente que los que viven en el norte
it's wrongly thought that the people that are living in the north,
estadounidenses.
they're pro-U.S. They're wrong.
En el norte,
In the
allá en la
north,
frontera,
right there on the frontier,
hay un nacionalismo
there's such nationalism,
bien arraigado.
very deep nationalism.
Lo mismo
And the same thing
nuestros
with
paisanos
our
migrantes
paisans, our migrant paisans.
quieren mucho a México, nunca
They love
olvidan
Mexico. They never forget
Y
Mexico. And
además,
even I think that
ese nacionalismo que hay
that nationalism that we
no
have
tiene
there
que ver
in the north has to do, really,
con
with
la cercanía
the
a otra
closeness
realidad
to another reality
a
where
veces
sometimes, just sometimes,
ellos cometen
our neighbors
excesos
commit some
de
excess
maltrato,
of
racismo,
mistreatment,
y
some
eso
racism, and that
afianza más
that
nuestra
strengthens
identidad.
our identity as Mexican.
Que no lo
That, of course,
padece una
it's
gente de la
not
capital.
somebody living in the capital is not going through that as much, but the ones that are living in the north frontier go through that. And I want to ask you another question, Mr. President. As you said before, they're not conservatives, they're delinquents or corrupts. I want to ask you, we've seen that in other times there was this federal resource that was given to the entities to distribute in the municipalities. It would definitely not arrive. And nowadays, I've seen that there's better work by your government to spread out the economical financing to the locations. And we haven't seen you going over there lately, but it's a little better city. These programs have worked. And the question is, because you're going to go to Tijuana pretty soon, and you'll see how you're being received. Mr. President, is there any economical resource that we can direct to the direction? Are there's some good plans for Governor Caballero? He's got good projects so we can get the city on its feet. And you think we can take something to Tijuana? Yes, I'm going there today. I'm going to be arriving there today, and we are undertaking the evaluation of the operations of the Bienestar banks and their locations. And in Baja California, there are being established these locations of that bank that we're building. We're going to evaluate. But aside from that, amongst other things, in Baja California and Tijuana in particular, we're investing by the Federation about 10,000 million Mexican pesos in this work in the frontier, in this roadway through the whole line, frontier line, so that we can better circulation of the vehicles. This morning, for example, we tried in the security reunion the question of the problem of with these collapses, and local president in Tijuana, municipal in Rosarito, doing a great job in these collapses and fighting that. We just helped them out to resolve this living quarter situation in Foviste in Rosarito, and we're going to be assisting them more. And I think that is the state that more has more regular vehicles that were coming in from the U.S., and we legalized them. Maybe that you have a list there of what is sent to the streets. to fix the streets.
eh,
We've done a lot of
han
urban work.
construido parques,
There's a lot of parks
en
constructed,
barrancas,
barrancas,
se han mejorado viviendas de gente pobre.
and
Hemos hecho varias cosas en todo Baja California y lo vamos a seguir haciendo.
we've been doing a lot of work
¿Mande?
in ravines, fixing ravines, turning them into parks. I'm going to be attending the medical part. What I'm more interested in is on the attention to the harmed people. I'm not sure, but I'm going to have a reunion with the medical staff so that we can procure that there's nothing missing for them, and so that we can save them, save their lives, basically, and that's what's fundamental. So, since I'm going to go to Juarez today to check out the situation with the Banco de Bienestar, and I'm going to check out the attention of the hurts and the sick, that they get taken care of in everything they need. They've been taken care of. I actually sent General Bucio on that same day, next day of that tragedy. He went there, and he is informing me every day. He informed me this morning, and he's visiting the hospitals where the sick are. They're in IMSS clinics, Social Security clinics. They're in El Iste, and they're being taken care of. We're backing them up so that they don't need anything. But either way, I'm going to go today, and they're coming with me. They're going to stay there. Secretary of Health, Jorge Alcocer, and Zoe Robledo, Director of IMSS Social Security. And so I'm leaving now. I'm not sure exactly. We invited them for the reunion of the Bank of Bienestar, the Wellbeing Bank. Who are you going to go with? Well, I'm going with the medics. I'm not sure. They're going to do... I'm asking them to do a supervision, revision of all the hurt, injured, so that they're not missing anything. So it came up to 400 of the hospitalized ones. Yes, you guys were informed yesterday, and you're going to get more information today. Today, Rosa Isela will go there. Rosa Isela will be informing you guys. At 2 p.m. Oh, look, well, Baja California is in first place. 252,466. The timing was amplified. It would have ended today, but it's now up to 3 months. That term to legalize. That is 631 million. As for the roads, of course, hopefully that is not only to cover up these holes in the roads, but put concrete, hydraulic concrete, because the road conditions, with all the holes in them, with all the rains, they come back out. But with the concrete, hydraulic concrete, we'll get rid of that problem. Morning, Mr. President. Hank Salazar, Noticiero en Redes. There's been a few times that I've stated, Mr. President, the situation with El Fobiste. Matter of fact, yesterday it was mentioned as well, but it is deeper. The problem is deeper. And even through here, by your instructions in past months, the responsible people of these dependencies were on there. Fobiste belongs to ISTE, part of the benefits of the workers, and concrete, so that repeat what I've stated here, and even what we've seen with the correspondent authorities, is that the problem, the key problem, and even they've said it, the authorities responsible of the Fobiste, they say that this problem cannot be solved in depth if there's no law reforms, judicial orderings, because it has to do with the amounts, the loans of their living quarters. There's a lot of people being affected. The most delicate example is the ones of the retirees that keep paying their patronist quota, and after that they retire, of course, the pension goes down from the increment or the income that they used to have, 20, 25, 30%, depending on the calculations. So I want to ask you, Mr. President, if there's any possibility that even the commissions in the political locations, it doesn't depend on the institutions. They would need to jump the laws, and of course, they're going to be responsibility. And concretely, that would be my question. And in this case, another example that I want to ask and to see in depth is the situation in the city of government, Mexico City government in Tlaquepaque. I exposed it to you because it was affected. This building was affected in 2017 earthquake. People had to run out. The renting, that building's still damaged because it's really expensive because of budget situations, and Fobiste is still paying. They're still paying, and so that we're spending double. And even with the actualization, and if they come in month by month, as February comes in and they owe because of that actualization up to 70,000 Mexican pesos. They're unpayable debts. There's been movements everywhere, and I think the key would be there. And ask you concretely about this, if you can help out Mexican government so they can get assistance 6 years later that to solve the situation, because they don't have budget enough to make this building in Tlalpan inhabitable and make it habitable. About the last thing, I'm sure the Mexican government in the Mexico City area, the Mexico City government can tend to this. And the ones that are looking at us, a lot of public servants in the Mexico City government will be informed about what you're speaking about. And maybe today, because the governor today in Mexico City has daily conferences at 11 a.m. And I'm going to ask her, with all due respect, to give a response to this question, to that last part. And about the Fobiste situation that you brought up, there are a lot of changes happening, but what's happening is that there hasn't been any information let out yet. So I'm going to ask Director Cesar Buenrostro of Fobiste to come and inform us about what you're talking about and of what else we can do to assist. Now, would be a necessity to reform, to send out initiatives? Is there a possibility on your behalf? Yes, of course. So that we can do this even more ample.
director de la
I'm going to
enfermedad,
also
los dos,
invite Infonavit director,
que,
both of them,
den a conocer
so that they come
qué
here
están
and they can
haciendo para
speak
que la gente
about
que
what
está
they're doing,
pagando,
so that the people that are paying,
servidores públicos,
whoever, public servants
que
or
pagan y pagan y pagan, que nunca,
workers, and that they keep paying,
terminan
but they never
de
finish
pagar, no
paying,
tienen sus escrituras.
and they
¿Qué
don't
es
have
lo que se
their
está haciendo?
ownership
Porque hay
papers.
planes
What's
para
been
eso.
done about that? Because
Hay
there's plans,
descuento,
there's discounts.
yo me
I
comprometí a que si ya
compromised
llevaban
myself so that if they had 90%
de su pago,
of their payments,
ya se les
they would,
hacía una quita del
there would be
10% y se
a
les entregaba
minimization
esa
of
escritura.
10%,
Y me
and they would get their
comprometí
ownerships.
también a
And I
otra
also
cosa que se está cumpliendo,
compromised myself to something that is also being
que
implied
fue detener
and
los
implemented. It
desalojos,
was to stop
porque
the
antes
taking out of people from their homes,
a los trabajadores
other workers' homes,
y había
and
toda una red de corrupción, de notarios, despachos
there was
abogados
this
que se quedaban
lawyer
con los
companies and
de los
public
trabajadores,
notaries
que
that
vengan
would
y que nos
keep
informen.
their
traer, por ejemplo,
apartments.
porque hay una infinidad de casos para podérselos entregar y que pudieran dar respuesta.
There's
Pues yo
a
quisiera que
complete
antes que nos entregues para
situation about these
ellos
evictions.
vendrían
There's a lot of things. They would come in next
Sí,
week,
vamos a pensar
and we're going to be thinking on how,
en el miércoles.
maybe what day, maybe Wednesday.
¿Qué les parece?
Sí, yo estaría
You think
presente,
it's
si
okay?
estuviera-
Pero y
si me
antes
permite.
y te damos la palabra.
Ok.
A ti.
El
And
segundo
we'll
punto,
let you speak that day.
presidente, preguntarle, en
The
el
other
tema de
situation,
salud,
Mr. President,
hay
in the health
una
situation,
nueva forma de atender
there's a new
a la
way
gente
of
con
tending
lesiones medulares,
to people with
es un padecimiento de
medular
mucha gente en el país. En España, el tratamiento se denomina
lesions. In
EZ1,
Spain,
es
it's
mucho más
called
cómodo de explicar, por una cuestión de salud,
EZ1.
que están pidiendo
It's
que
much
si
more
se-
in
si se
depth to
toma,
explain.
están,
It's a situation of health, but
preguntando
if
si
they're
en la
asking themselves,
Secretaría de Salud se
in
estuviera
the
considerando
Secretary of
este
Health,
tratamiento que
this
ya se
treatment
inició en
has
España
been
y
considered
que
that it started in
pudiera
Spain,
mejorar
and that could
bastante
better
sus condiciones de vida,
their
porque
life
son
conditions.
lesiones que, pues, son de por
And of
vida,
course,
no hay,
that means that
mayor,
their
posibilidad
leisures
de
of
mejora,
life,
pero que con este
there's not a
tratamiento
possibility
que
of getting
se
better.
está,
But with this
llevando a cabo en
Easy
España,
One
preguntar
treatment,
si la Secretaría de
ask you
Salud
that
pudiera
if
estar
Secretary of
considerando
Health could be
esto,
considering
este tratamiento. Y ahorita una
that
última,
treatment.
presidente.
And one last point after this.
Sí, si te parece.
And if you think
respondan
maybe
el martes,
that they can
si
give us
esto
an
lo
answer to
consideran.
that on
Este
Tuesday.
martes no vamos
Because
a
on this
tener
Tuesday, we're not going to have
hasta el próximo.
health conversations
Pudieran
up until
responder.
next Tuesday.
Y por último, presidente,
And
preguntarle,
by the end,
en
I
el
want to
tema,
ask you,
migratorio, que, bueno,
in
pues,
the
ahorita está
migratory
muy clara la
realm,
situación,
that
ya
is
usted
really
lo ha
clear
planteado aquí,
today.
aquí se ha,
You've
definido.
stated before that it's been defined.
Ya en la tarde se ha estado
In the
respondiendo por
afternoon,
parte de la secretaria de
there's been
Seguridad,
a
Rosicela
respondence
Rodríguez,
of
una
Rosicela
diversidad
Rodriguez,
de
a
información,
diversity of
excepción
information,
de las cosas que tienen que
and
ver con
an
los
exception that
procedimientos,
things that have to do with the
jurídicos, los
proceedings
procedimientos que está llevando a cabo por parte de la
that
Fiscalía
has been
General de la
undertaken
República.
by the
En todos estos días,
General
bueno,
Attorney's
pues, ha salido
Office,
información, no solamente de la conferencia,
and it's not
por
been
ejemplo,
only been spoken
en esta
here.
misma
For
conferencia
example,
se
in
habla
this
de
same
una
conference,
empresa privada
there's a lot of
que,
companies,
se
private
llama
companies
CAMSA,
that is called, one of the
que
companies is called
tenía
CAMSA,
también,
that had
un encargo
a
en toda esta
work,
atención,
and all this
habría que definir
attention,
más. De hecho,
we would need to
entiendo que
define a
eso es
little bit
parte de
more,
las
and I think that's part of the
investigaciones,
investigations.
eso es parte de lo que se está
This is
indagando.
part of
Ya han
what's been
salido
undertaken
incluso
and
montos a relucir,
been
montos
looking
de
after, and
cantidades de
a lot of amounts
cientos de millones de
have
pesos.
come out of
También la
hundreds
secretaria,
of millions of
de
Mexican
Seguridad
pesos.
ha planteado
And
que
Secretary of
aquí se va a
Security
el
has
tema de
planted
protección
about
federal
subject of
para
federal
poder,
protection
tener
to
las tareas al respecto.
be able to
Este es
take
un
care of the
tema que
works
incluso yo
about that.
antes,
And there was a
semanas antes, le
situation
había
that
preguntado
weeks
aquí
before I had
a la
asked you,
secretaria Rosa Isela,
and Secretary Rosicela
preguntarle si en todo se está
came in
considerando,
and asked
primero,
if it's been considered
el
first
Instituto de Migración,
of the
o
Immigration
Nacional de
Institute,
Migración, una reinvención, una
and a
reestructura de
reinvention,
todo
a
el
restructuring
contexto
in
con
depth,
el trato hacia
in
los
depth
migrantes. Es
with
decir,
the
debe de
treatment
haber
of migrants.
gente con esa disposición
There's got to be
y
people with that
preguntarle si, por ejemplo,
disposition,
en
and
esto,
ask
porque
you if,
faltaba
For example, in this, we needed to recover the vacancies in the federal protection. You even informed this. Secretary Rosicela informed this. And wouldn't it be better to convoke the same people that has that will, that sensibility to treat this type of people that are coming from kilometers and kilometers to Central America, to Southern America, and many other countries. So this reform changes completely and asks you of the situation of retention to modify. That's why I mean reinvention, to create more locations like welcoming homes, protection homes, because even local authorities, they're not looking into it with sympathy, and the company owners, well, they don't like them to be around, and I think that there's a lot of racist, classist, xenophobous people, and we have that in the country. That public servant Andrea Chavez, in between Texas government and Chihuahua, where there's resources in Chihuahua government through this agreement of $200 million to help out the migrants, but not to stop them. And that, of course, the government of Chihuahua would be criminalizing the government, and there would be a deep reform so that these types of resources are not diverted. And I think that's another pending situation, Mr. President. And thank you for the answers. Rosicela will be informing about all this, and I'll tell you some things here. First, the deepest and the most painful thing of this case that has been for a lot of people, and I confess, it's been painful for me as well. It's hurt me a lot. I've had hard times. The most painful and hardest of them all was the Tlahualilpa explosion. Has been the hardest for me, anemically speaking. And then this one moved me a lot. Broke my soul, basically. And it's helped me out to confront the pain, the fact that we've been doing a lot for the migrants. Ever since I arrived, there's facts and proof that we've been asking the U.S. government to tend to the migrants so that they don't see themselves in the necessity to abandon their place, because once they're out of their place, their country, that even some of them go and get into agreements with people traffickers, so-called polleros, and it's really difficult so that they get jobs in Mexico. They have the purpose to get to the U.S. And so we've demonstrated that if there's an investment in the Central American people and their countries, and in El Caribe, in the Caribbean, and if we manage to maintain the origins to whom, if they don't have any other option, decide to go out, look for a new way of life,
Entonces, hemos invertido.
And so we've invested
Nosotros hemos invertido
more than $100 million in communities of El Salvador,
de Honduras,
Honduras,
de
Guatemala.
Hemos estado
We've been there
en Centroamérica.
in Central America.
A
I'm going to ask
Laura
Laura Elena, I'm going to ask her,
que es la encargada de este
who is the one that is in charge of this program,
y que les exponga lo que
to come
hemos
here and expose what we've been
Además,
doing.
hemos evaluado
And aside from that we've been evaluating, and we know that is working. So what we've been asking the U.S. government is just that. If we are working and destining $100 million, they can share a little bit as well to help us out. They haven't done it. Nor with Mr. ex-President Trump, we didn't manage that, nor with President Biden. We haven't done that. And to help us out in what, I think the question was, and what do you think that has to do with, or why is that? Because they have a situation of confronting social problems only with the use of force. And the causes are not being tended to. So that is in one hand.
También tengo que reconocer de que ahora con el presidente Biden se logró por primera vez que se entregaran.
And with President Biden, we've managed to get temporary visas.
Bajó considerablemente. A ver si no nos manda Marcelo Ebrard las cifras sobre migración, la gráfica.
Maybe we can get Marcelo Ebrard the graphical chart, to get Marcelo Ebrard to send that to us. And there was this graph that said that whomever is from Colombia or Venezuela, they can do their paperwork because there wasn't any alternative, really. Only just to get them going and run all these risks. So they took this good decision. This situation happened.
Ahorita lo van a ver de el comportamiento. Y luego, miren, ya lo habíamos visto esto.
And we've seen this before. Look at this. This is the total, 250,000.
Esto
These are non-Mexicans, but fundamentally, they're Venezuelans, Ecuadorians, Colombians. The measure of what I'm talking to you about, the one that U.S. took, was here. And look. These are the Mexicans.
Igual.
Pretty much the same, a little bit up. So this part, we're going to need to keep doing it so that we can get the Venezuelans, Ecuadorians, Colombians don't have to go through and go through all the governments and all the states, but they can do their paperwork from their own countries. There's a procedure now that didn't exist before. And about this situation,
tenemos que pedirle a la fiscalía
this misfortune. So we have to
que actúe.
ask the general,
No hay
district
impunidad.
attorney general,
Eso es la
that there's no
diferencia
impunity. That's the
con otros
difference
gobiernos.
from other
No vamos
governments.
a ocultar la verdad.
We're not going to be hiding the truth.
No vamos a proteger a nadie.
We're not going to be protecting anybody.
Pero pues
But,
es muy doloroso.
of course, it's really painful.
Y también
And also,
estábamos
we are
buscando,
we're looking for,
constantemente estamos
because
viendo
constantly we're looking into it.
hace 10 días
Almost 10 days ago, maybe a week
te
ago,
puedo dar
so I can give
el
you
día y la hora.
even the day and the
Con el
time,
padre Solalinte,
I reunited myself with Padre Solalinte, and we talked about it
antes de la desgracia.
before the
Y
situation, the
llegamos a la
disgrace,
de que
and we came to the
se iba a
agreement
crear
that there was going to be,
un
and
consejo.
we're going to create,
Y le dije, aunque tú no puedes
a
legalmente,
group, even
sí,
though that you
de
can't do it
manera
legally,
honoraria que estés.
but yes, you could be there honorably. You can do
Un
that
consejo para
in a
buscar
council
que no se
to
violen los
search
derechos humanos de los migrantes.
that human
Ese
rights
es
are
el
not
problema.
violated, that they're protected.
Sí, externos.
External entities, yes, and a
Al
reform
interior del
to
Instituto de
the
Migración.
interior of the Migration
Resulta
Institute.
que esto fue hace
And it
10
so
días.
happens that this happened 10 days ago.
Entonces quedamos ya.
So we ended up
Vamos a
with,
empezar.
we're going to
Y
be
cuando se
starting,
tengan, a los integrantes,
and when the
vamos.
members are on,
Sí,
we're
sí,
going to
sí, sí,
be
pero estamos
getting
hablando
that on their way. But of course, we're talking about
si hay alguien aquí,
if there's anybody here,
entre otros,
amongst others,
que ha defendido a los
that have
migrantes
defended
de manera
migrants
sincera,
in a sincere
con sus
way
albergues y todo,
with
es
their
el padre Solalinde.
locations
Porque
and
también hay
home,
muchos
safeguard
pseudo,
homes. That's been Father Alinge.
defensores de derechos
It's been
humanos,
him.
así como
There's been a lot of
pseudoambientalistas.
human
Hay
rights
muchos falsos.
activists,
Estamos
but there's a lot of fake
buscando
ones.
gente que realmente
We're looking for people that really
sí le preocupe y
takes care
y quieran
and
verdaderamente
wants
ayudar.
to really
Por lo
help.
general, hay
In general,
organizaciones
there's
de la sociedad
organizations
civil.
of
¿Qué
the
es lo que ha
civil
pasado en el caso de
realm
Centroamérica?
and what's been happening in Central America.
Me pueden decir del gobierno de
You can
Estados
tell me
Unidos,
about
es
the
que
U.S. government.
nosotros
They
estamos
said
dando
that, oh yeah,
dinero
we're giving
a
money
las
to them
organizaciones no gubernamentales.
and
Le
non-governmental
estamos dando
organizations,
dinero
and we're giving money to
a organizaciones de la sociedad civil. Yo les he
civil
dicho,
societies. But I've told
les
them,
acabo de decir ahora a los
I just told them
legisladores
just recently,
que vinieron,
these
que
legislators,
eso no les llega a la gente. Se queda en esos aparatos.
but that doesn't even arrive to the people. They stay on those so-called
Arraigado
civil
el que
unions.
para
But the U.S. has really
atender a la gente en el
in
asunto
debt
migratorio
to tend to the people in the migrant situation. It needs
con
to be
organizaciones no gubernamentales,
through
con
non-governmental
organizaciones de la sociedad civil.
organizations,
Y yo sostengo
civil
que la
organizations.
mayoría
And I sustain that the
de esas
majority
organizaciones
of those organizations
solo
only
administran
administer
el problema.
the problem.
Y algunos hasta trafican
And some even
con
traffic
la necesidad de la gente.
with the people's
Son
necessities.
aparatos
That these apparatus, bureaucratical apparatus,
y muy conservadores.
and very, very conservative.
Fue todo esto que se creó
It was all this that was created with the neoliberal period to
de
simulate
que
that
se atendían con las nuevas políticas
all this was
públicas
being tended
a la
to with
gente.
all the new supposed
También
politic
para desviar la atención,
ways and to also deviate from
los
the
corruptos
attention from the
siguieran
corrupt
saqueando
would be sacking the country.
a los pueblos. Entonces,
And so, I was telling you about this. Why are they argumenting? They say that we can't give the money to the governments because they're corrupt. These governments. Well, don't give it to the government. If you're thinking about that, give it directly to the people. Don't utilize these intermediaries, these middlemen. If you can see how they're doing, the type of cars that they have, they're in the best hotels, and all the money stays with them. And even there's very little anyway. What does it have to do with what the U.S. government has turned in to Central America with the $35 million destined to the purchasing of weapons for Ukraine? Well, and this is not the first time that I've been saying this, and I'm telling it to them. I just said it just about a week ago. And aside from that, my UN speech is where I'm speaking about why of the immigration situation and why of the world poverty and how the UN has done nothing. Absolutely nothing. But, of course, there's a constellation of bureaucratic apparatus for everything. For everything. Those bureaucrats live really good, really nice. They earn really good money, travel all around the world, and they don't do a thing in benefit of the people, really. Okay, so that's enough of hypocrisies, simulations, and I'm taking off. And look, the compromise that I'm doing, this guy that is one of the best news reporters, and so that they don't do anything to him, he's critical of us, and that's why I respect him a lot. This guy is the first one that is going to be on Monday. Okay? So one, because then I'm not going to do anything. Couldn't hear the question. Says, well, I'm on that, but I got the situation, but we were precisely on that. I was only receiving a call from our ambassador from Brazil, Laura Esquivel, complaining about the mistreatment of who are arriving from Brazil to Mexico, the mistreatment of some migration functionaries. Of course, we are on that. And besides, it's something that we're doing. That is Laura Carrillo. Laura Elena Carrillo, for example, she will be here because you're going to see what's interesting. And not only is this for the Mexican people, but what I want, because I've sent it to them, to U.S. legislators, to the ones that are talking about the migratory situation. We have documents. We did an evaluation of the effects of what is being done with these grants and scholarships of young people that are in these programs, that are in Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador. And they say, we're not going there anymore. We're not going to the U.S. We'll stay.
es una muy buena experiencia.
It's a very good
Entonces, ¿qué es lo que se
experience.
tiene que hacer? Bueno, reforzar
So what do we have to do
todas estas
is
medidas.
reinforce
Y lo
all these
otro,
measures.
también,
And
pues,
the other thing
protegerlos,
is to
que las
protect them,
ya
of course,
salieron,
protect the migrants.
protegerlos, cuidarlos, que es lo que hemos venido haciendo con
And that's what we've been
albergues,
doing
con médicos.
with new medical
Esta
staff.
tragedia,
But of course, this
desgraciadamente,
tragedy,
nos
sadly,
vino a pegar muy fuerte.
this came to hit us a lot.
No, los jóvenes ahora están a la vanguardia. Hay relevo generacional. Saben que voy ahora que voy a lo de hablar con promotores y con servidores de
Now that
justicia,
I'm going to go over there and speak about that,
hablamos de lo que viene, no, hacia el futuro.
and we're talking about what's coming in the future, 70%
Que trabajan con la gente,
of the people that
son
work,
jóvenes.
70%
La
now
mayoría
are young
mujeres.
people,
Pero jóvenes de
and the
30
majority women.
y menos.
Young people under 30, of course.
Entonces me da muchísimo
And
gusto
I'm really, really
que
glad, really
esto
happy,
ya
because
cambió.
this, of course, has been changing.
Ya cuando yo les pregunto, a ver, que levanten la mano las mujeres, mayoría. A ver, que levanten la mano los que tienen
So that we
menos de
can
30
get
años, mayoría.
people
A ver, que
of
levanten
that
la mano los que tienen
range
de
of
60 a
age,
70 años, que son veteranos.
and also the
Como
ones
yo,
that are
unos
veterans
cuantos.
are obtaining their benefits.
Desplazaron por completo. Sí, ya por eso yo
Mexican people are around 30
tranquilo el año próximo.
years old
Nos
now.
vemos.
So I'm going to be happy to leave my presidency with that knowledge. We'll see you next week. Monday. You'll be first. There you go, my friends. Well, thank you very much. Gracias, amigas y amigos, por estar con nosotros on this one more transmission of Mexican's President Daily Conference here in Mexico. Thank you very much for joining. Gracias por estar con nosotros. Y espero verlos la semana que entra. Voy a estar grabando el día 27 de esta conferencia el domingo. I'm going to be recording the day 27th of this month on Sunday. So please, hopefully that you could just stop by and put your like, que a lo mejor puedan detenerse y poner su like. Cuídense mucho. Gracias. Nos vemos la semana que entra. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening. Hasta pronto. Y que viva México, viva AMLO y viva